At some stage, we'll have to deal with Russia, but not until they are defeated. And we must defeat them, because one of the other things in the last week is that we've still seen massive expansionist rhetoric from both Lavrov and Shoigu.
It's now time to invite you into our daily briefing room, where one of our leading tactical and strategic minds with years of experience as a general officer at the highest level of military command shares their insights into the current state of the war in Ukraine. This afternoon, we are joined by Major General Chip Chapman, former commander of the UK's Joint Forces Command. General, it's great to have you on the show. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Ayesha.
Now, really interesting development today. The first ships have left the port of Odessa to export grain around the world. This is the first time since the Black Sea blockade was lifted. What do you make of this news, and do you expect this to last?
Well, two's a pattern and three's a trend, so you have to see what happens tomorrow and the day after, and if this is a trend for the future. And of course, from a Ukrainian side, it needs to be. There are 22 million tons of grain and corn which are there, which need to get out, or they'll rot in the warehouses. And of course, if they don't get the money for that, then there'll be no money for the planting which needs to go on for the next year. But then you have to ask yourself, why has Russia done this? Because it looks like some sort of concession with the agreement which was brokered by the UN and the Turks. And really, it's because on the diplomatic side, it worried a lot of countries which are not necessarily favorable, but more in the Russian camp than others. It's Iran, it's Egypt, it's the African countries. So the notion of starving Asia and Africa was inimical to those countries. And that is what has pressured Russia into doing this. So it's another failed part at the moment of their hybrid war. I think we have to be careful of looking at the attack which happened on the 23rd of July. That's one day after the agreement was brokered, as being an attack on this agreement. It wasn't. It was deep battle tactics of the Russians attacking military infrastructure around Odessa, not an attack on the agreement itself.
That's a really, really interesting point. And as you say, I mean, there's a lot of skin in the game in terms of getting these grain exports going, because, as you say, there are many, many other countries around the world who very, very much need this grain, and many of these people are strategic partners with Russia. I mean, one of the other interesting stories that I had caught my eye was that Simon Jenkins from The Guardian suggested that the ruble has soared this year as the prices of commodities have, of course, also sharply risen. Do you think there's any possibility that our very harsh economic sanctions have backfired, General?
Absolutely not. The ruble is not the Russian economy. The ruble is being propped up by massive capital controls and reserves spent by the Russians since the war began. And you have to recall that first. So the ruble is not the Russian economy. The reality is imports are collapsing. Domestic production is at a standstill. And the imports thing is the really crucial one, because they can't manufacture things for their war economy. It was always the belief that Western sanctions would only start kicking in really in Q3 22, i.e. around now and by the next month. So we are leading to a situation where Russia will be in a situation of economic oblivion. So Simon Jenkins is a polemicist who never alters his facts and gets things to suit them, but he's absolutely wrong on this.
And let's also talk about the new blacklist which Russia has published. Another 39 people banned, including Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer and Talk TV's Piers Morgan and leader of the SNP in Westminster, Ian Blackford. I mean, do these blacklists have any impact in any way at this stage of the game, or is this just more posturing from Russia?
No, I don't think they have any strategic value at the moment. The key thing ultimately will be what comes when there is a better peace. And of course, that's what war is fought for. It's fought for political objectives. It may be that military success brings you to those political objectives. It doesn't look like that is going to be the case at the moment. We shouldn't be dealing with Russia at the moment. So the fact that you're blacklisted shouldn't make people lose any sleep at night. At some stage, we'll have to deal with Russia, but not until they are defeated. And we must defeat them, because one of the other things in the last week is that we've still seen massive expansionist rhetoric from both Lavrov and Shoigu. They're not in the business of having minimalist objectives at the moment, so they need to be defeated in detail so that they cannot have these expansionist objectives, which of course have included things like recreation of the Ukraine as the first part of their empire and spheres of influence in the old Soviet countries.
Well, listen, really grateful for your time and, of course, your expertise this afternoon. That was Major General Chip Chapman, former commander of the UK's Joint Forces Command, who was joining us in the briefing room. And joining us